Tired of thinking about drinking, trying to control it, and ending up in the same loop? Welcome to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast, where high achieving women learn how to step out of the stop start cycle and build a life that feels calm, clear, and alcohol free on purpose. I'm your host, Lindsay, accredited sober coach and former high functioning drinker. After more than a decade of drinking every night while keeping up a big career and a life that looked fine from the outside, I rebuilt my identity from the inside out. Now I help women stop negotiating with themselves and trust their own decisions again. This isn't a podcast full of cliches or willpower pep talks. You're getting real conversations, lived experience coaching, and practical tools you can use inside your actual life, not perfect conditions. So take a breath. You're here because you're ready to feel good in your real life. So let's get started. Take a deep breath with me. We've made it to the end of the year, the end of 2025. And if you're here with me today, listening to this episode on December 31st, I want you to know this. You're not ending this year the same woman who started it. So much of the work that I do with women and why I show up here is so that I can remind you that even if you haven't had your last drink yet, you are building the version of you who no longer drinks. And you're not ending this year the same, okay? Even if you feel really messy right now, even if you didn't hit every single goal, even if your relationship with alcohol still feels like a work in progress. You have grown, you have stretched, you've learned things about yourself that the old you didn't even have a language for. So today, I'm super duper excited for this episode. I'm basing this episode on a lot of the things that I worked through with women at a retreat that I held at the beginning of 2025 in January. Unfortunately, I had to make the decision to not hold that retreat this year, but don't you worry. Weekend retreats are coming back soon, and I can't wait to invite you to them. So I want to walk you through sort of a inner transformation for yourself today to really set you up, not only for just maybe if you're planning to do dry January, but creating a whole year and plan for yourself so that you're ready to do this. You're ready to also finish 2026 in a way that you are seeing tangible results. And I'm going to help you pluck those out of this last year as well. This episode is going to be so exciting. And there's also going to be moments where you might want a little pen and paper or just, jot down the time. And if you're out on a walk listening to this or in your car, there's going to be a bit of a guided meditation. So you may want to come back to it later when you can carve out a few minutes to yourself to do the meditation portion and the journaling prompts, because this is a big episode. I'm literally trying to cram an entire weekend retreat into one episode for you. So let's see how this goes. So we're going to reflect on 2025 in a way that doesn't make you feel smaller, but really strengthens you. We're going to pull the truth out of all of the messiness that you maybe experience. We're going to uncover the wins that actually matter the most in this journey, the ones that don't show up in your little goal trackers or sober streaks, but absolutely show up in your life. There are so many things that are driving us closer to the woman who no longer drinks or, bringing us closer to our goals. And we do not shine enough light over those. So we are going to then step into 2026 with bold intention, clarity, and identity. And we're going to let go of the pressure that we tend to put on ourselves in moments like this, because we've all had the grand plans, the how we're going to do our year, and we fizzle out. So I'm going to talk about that too, because the woman that you're becoming, she's already taking shape, right? So much of the identity that you're trying to create already exists in you. You've just maybe had these layers of alcohol and your relationship with alcohol that is like burying her. And so It's about letting go of those layers, peeling them off, saying goodbye to them, and letting your current identity just reveal herself. So we're just going to turn up the volume on her, and I can't wait. Let's start here. Before we look forward to 2026, we're going to take a moment to look backwards, but we're not doing it in the way your brain wants to do it. Your brain might want to say, I should have been further along. I kept slipping. I lost momentum. I just couldn't stay consistent. But listen to me. These are not things that equal you failing. These are data points. This is information for you to take on and move forward. Those are moments where your awareness grew. Even if your behavior didn't match the version of you who you're stepping into yet. I always say, how can I change my actions to match up with the way I want to be living? Okay. And so maybe there were times over 2025 where your actions just didn't match up with who you want to be. And that's okay. It takes repetition for that new identity to start shining brighter and brighter. Okay. One of the stories that I shared at my retreat last year, well, I guess it was still this year, was about a client of mine named Catherine. When we first met, she described herself as having this all or nothing mentality. Every time she didn't do something perfectly, she labeled it as failure. And here's what kind of changed things for her as we were leaning into our work together. She stopped treating every deviation as a big setback, and she started treating it as part of the journey. She learned to love the messy middle. And the messy middle is where your identity is built. So I really want you to know that. The times that you even are feeling worse, those are the times that you're actually letting go of some of the old you. This is where your self-trust is going to grow. And the most important part is where momentum forms. And that's what we're going to do together right now. So I am going to give you a journal prompt. I'll list it in the show notes, so later you don't have to listen to the whole episode. So you can pause the episode right now, or you can come back. I want you to write down, what were the moments this year when I noticed myself more clearly? Number 2, what patterns became visible? 3rd, what did you learn about your emotional triggers, your capacity, and your boundaries? Not what you failed at, but just what you noticed, because awareness is progress. And staying awake to your life, staying on top of these things, that is progress. So I just want you to answer some of those questions. This is really going to help you see, like, I have a lot of wins. I am paying attention to these things. And you can also always send me an email or send me a DM on Instagram and let me know, like, some of these, and I'm happy to respond. The next part we're going to move into is we are going to name all of the little wins that your brain is probably glossing over. Here's one that might show up for you. Maybe you've caught yourself in the loop earlier than before. And what I mean by the loop is maybe in the early afternoon, you noticed that you started to think about having that glass of wine. And instead of letting your mind focus on it and spin and just count down the clock until you could have a glass of wine, you went for a walk instead. You distracted yourself. You just went into the break room, got a fresh glass of water or tea or something. Like, all these little things of changing your environment to change your thoughts. So maybe that was something that you did. Maybe you questioned whether you really wanted a drink once or twice or 10 times. Maybe you paused before a commitment and asked, does this serve me? Is this what I want to be doing right now? Maybe you started building tiny rituals that made you feel more grounded, or you told the truth to yourself a little sooner. Maybe you recovered faster after having a slip instead of spiraling and making it turn into several days of drinking. Maybe you had moments when you felt more like yourself, genuine. That's one of the things that women tell me they want so badly. They just want to feel genuine and like themselves, because when we're drinking and we're hiding it, we feel like we're living a double life. So these wins matter more than anything else. These little wins that may feel insignificant in the moment, they're actually your momentum. They're you building momentum in your journey, because sustainable change isn't made because, we draw a line in the sand and we say we're not drinking for January. But don't worry, we're going to talk about dry January in this episode too. Sustainable change is made from little shifts in the way we think and in the way we approach. It's made from small acts of inner integrity. And what I mean by inner integrity is we're a woman of our word. We do what we say we're going to do, which also means we keep the promises that we make to ourselves. I'm sure that anybody in your life would tell you that you are somebody who has integrity. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. But what about when you tell yourself you're going to do something for yourself? That's where we fall apart, because we are so used to doing everything for other people that we set our own needs aside. So that's what I mean by building inner integrity. It means that you show up for yourself. It means that when you say that you're going to have a mocktail at the Friday night get together, that you have a mocktail at the Friday night get together. It means that when you tell yourself that you're going to wake up and work out at 5:30 in the morning, that you get up and you do it. And then your actions are aligned with the woman who wakes up and works out at 5:30. And by that, I mean, the night before, you are creating an evening for yourself that supports going to bed on time, getting a restful night's sleep so that you can wake up and do that workout. These are tiny rituals that anchor you into the woman that you're becoming, the woman that you built like this year, even if you didn't realize it while it was happening. And maybe you're not totally stepped into this new identity. Maybe you're just trying to dip your toe in, but you know that alcohol is not serving you anymore and you're doing something about it. You are evaluating your relationship with alcohol. So there's a lot of different phases in this journey. There's this like sober curiosity phase, like, oh, there's people who don't drink. How did they quit? And, really dipping your toe. Maybe you're reading books about it and you're like, wow, this person quit drinking. That's amazing. And so then maybe you take breaks. And then there's the you who's had so many rules and trying to moderate and trying so hard again and again, over and over, to just be able to have one or two drinks on a Friday night. And it just never gets there. You're like, why do I keep doing this when it never works? And so that's the version of you who's like, I know I need to change, but you can't maybe quite see a life without drinking, because this is because alcohol touches so many areas of our lives that we fight really hard to try to keep it in our life. When I started to see that in my own journey, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, Lindsay, this doesn't make any sense. Maybe that's where you're at. And then maybe you're at the point where you're like, okay, I have enough information that tells me I never just have 2 glasses of wine and I've got to just like get this behind me. But there's still the element of like, how do I do that? And how do I do XYZ and not drink? And this is, the core of my work with women. So I want to move into a bit of a grounding practice. This is a meditation that I did during my retreat this year. So if you're driving, you're going to want to come back to this later. I mean, you absolutely can listen to it. Just make sure that you don't totally follow what I ask you to do around closing your eyes, or maybe if you're walking, but definitely come back to this. It's going to be around the midway point of the episode if you're searching for it. So if you're able, go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to take a big, deep breath in through your nose, and then exhale fully through your mouth. And then bringing your awareness just to your breath here, noticing the rise and fall of your belly, and relaxing your shoulders, softening your jaw, and just take a mental note of how you feel right now. Just the very first sensation that comes up. There's no wrong thing to feel. Just let it be there. Notice where you're holding tension in your body. Notice any thoughts that are swirling around. and then just release it. Swipe the thoughts away like they're a mosquito that you're just kind of waving away from your face. And then I want you to shift your focus to this question. How do I want to feel in 2026? Not what goal do you want to hit, not what habit do you want to break, not how many alcohol-free days you want to accumulate. Simply this: how do you want to feel? What comes to mind? Calm, strong, clear, free, steady, connected, aligned, present, alive? Just choose one word, the word that feels like truth in your body right now. Now, I want you to picture yourself living in that feeling, that word that comes to mind. What do you look like when you feel that way? Like everything. What does your skin look like? How are you wearing your hair? What energy do you carry? How do you move through your evenings? How do you speak to yourself? And then go ahead and place your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your belly. And just take a big inhale in and breathe that word in. This is the woman that you are stepping into. You're not waiting for her. You are building her. And now bring your chin to your chest and take one little inhale through the nose and then exhale through the mouth and then open your eyes. I love doing that meditation. I've done it several times, and it's really just a way for us to look forward at how we want to feel, because we have to get to the feeling. Our thoughts drive how we feel. And so we're going to talk a lot about that in the remaining of this episode. But I hope that that kind of brought you down a little bit and brought you to a place where you can just focus on one thing. You can focus on having that feeling. One little trick that I used to use in early sobriety was my decisions have to result in me feeling how I say I want to feel. So again, this kind of goes with, does the action match the desired outcome? Does it match how I want to be living? And so if I want to wake up feeling energetic and well rested, well, the night before, my actions cannot be giving in or sitting on the couch and drinking wine, because I know I'm not going to get what I want if I do that. So now we're going to get into the real work for 2026. So let's take this deeper. One of the biggest themes from the retreat that I held earlier this year was around inner integrity. And this is what inner integrity is in the simplest way: doing what you say you'll do enough times that you start believing yourself again. Okay? This is that self-trust. Because think about how many times you woke up saying, I'm not going to drink tonight, and then you did drink. That breaks your self-trust. So this is about doing what you say you'll do enough times that you start believing yourself again. And every day may not be perfect. There may be resistance in there sometimes. It's just consistent enough that your brain starts trusting you again. Integrity is a muscle. So I want you to write this down. This is journal prompt number 2, which will also be in the show notes. Where in my life do I feel out of integrity? Maybe it's in your evenings. Are those evening actions not giving you the morning result that you want? Maybe it's in your boundaries. Are you saying yes to things that you really want to say no to? Maybe it's how you talk to yourself. Are you waking up in the morning and, calling yourself an idiot? No, we don't talk to ourselves like that anymore. Maybe it's the promise you make at 6 p.m. and then they don't hold. So these are the things I want you to think about. Where in my life do I feel out of integrity? Now, the follow-up, journal prompt number 3 here is, what is one boundary I need to set to get back into alignment, back into feeling like I'm in integrity. Not 10, not a full reset, just one boundary. This might look like telling somebody I'm not drinking in January, or I'm on a break from drinking right now. Maybe you have a spouse or partner, someone that you live with, and maybe a lot of the routine is around opening a bottle before dinner or whatever and sharing it every night. It's time to tell that person, I'm going to be skipping that for a little while. It's a little easier when you do that for dry January because a lot of people are skipping it. So you can ride the coattails of that right now while you're building your inner strength too. Okay, the next journal prompt, number 4. What is one tiny promise I can keep to myself every single day? Now, this promise is going to become your anchor. Like, this is your anchor habit, maybe, that you're forming. This is like the promise. It's non-negotiable, and it's your reminder to yourself that you matter. This is how your 2026 is going to change. It's going to change because through this promise to yourself, you are building capacity, you are creating clarity, and inner integrity. Remember, inner integrity is doing what you say you're going to do over and over. It's keeping your promises to yourself. So, okay, we're also going to be writing a little future self contract today. But before we do that, we need to talk about something that a lot of you are preparing for. Like I mentioned a couple times already, dry January. And I want to help you set yourself up in a way that goes deeper than new year, new me pressure. Like, here's my resolution. Because the reality is that a new month doesn't override your nervous system. A clean slate doesn't make all of your old patterns disappear and new ones be flawless. Like, it just doesn't work that way. And January 1st doesn't suddenly change the emotional load that you're carrying. It doesn't wipe out all of the things that are on your plate. So dry January isn't hard because you lack discipline, because there are going to be moments of it that are hard. Dry January can be hard because you haven't yet built the systems that support you when that initial motivation might wear off. So we're going to talk about the science behind some of this. And this isn't even just with dry January, but this is around when we throw the towel in on our New Year's resolutions. Most people quit their resolutions by January 12th. It's the statistically most common day that resolutions start to crumble. And the reason why is, and I talk about this in so many other previous episodes, I talk about this on social media all the time. Motivation is like a burst of energy, okay? It's not always going to be there, but the habits are built through repetition, emotional regulation, and consistency. Habits are built when we do the thing anyway, even when we don't feel like it. And when the novelty wears off, when the stress returns, when the evenings feel long again, when our brain is just craving relief, your old neural pathways light up like, the runway lights where an airplane is landing. And we start saying things like, just this once, or I've been so good, or I deserve a break, or I'm just going to drink today and I'll start back tomorrow. This doesn't mean that you are failing at dry January or whatever other New Year's resolution that you're having that you want to set for yourself. This is neurology. Our brains are designed to reach for what is familiar, not what is better. That's why most people throw in the towel by the second week. And this isn't because you can't do dry January. It's just because you don't have this like framework for what to do for when life shows up, because your real life is going to start coming back. That magical week between Christmas and New Year's where like everything was blending together. I did an episode, or I did a Sunday message on that. If you don't subscribe to my emails, subscribe to my emails. I send the best Sunday message every single week. And so it's like you are going to have real life. All of the stuff that used to be really hard for you to deal with, it's going to appear again. Here's why dry January can actually feel harder than other breaks from alcohol that maybe you've been taking. So there's a few reasons. We load it with pressure. We have all of these grandiose things like, this is the year everything's going to change. And then pressure overwhelms the willpower. We might be removing alcohol, but we're not removing the triggers. So there's this evening quiet time that we want. There's the stress, there's the loneliness, there's transitions. These don't disappear just because it's January. We expect consistency without support. So when we want to change, when we are living one way and we want to be living another way, change requires planning. It requires context. It requires us to have tools that we implement, a strategy to follow, not just hope. Hope is not a strategy. And the other one is we often assume that motivation is going to last. It's not going to last. It never does. But what replaces it can be deeply supportive if you know what to do. The thousands of women that I've coached makes this painfully clear. Success comes from understanding your patterns, planning for your pressure points, interrupting the urge moment before it peaks. So that urge moment is probably coming at noon, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not at 6 o'clock at night. You have to take care of yourself during the day. It also is through building self-trust through the micro actions, through repeatedly keeping your promises to yourself, having tools ready for the wobble moments, not just reacting to them when they happen. Dry January is not a test of strength. It's a test of structure. And that's exactly why this episode matters so much, because everything that we've done so far today, the reflection, the awareness, the intention, the rituals, this is identity work. It's all designed to support you through the moments where dry January feels really shaky. So when you start to wobble, listen to this again. Pull up this very episode and listen to it again, because you will wobble. We all do. And it's not because you don't want to complete it enough. It's not because you're, doing something wrong. It's because life is still life. What you have to do when you quit drinking is learn how to show up for yourself without outsourcing your problems and your feelings and all the things that get piled on your plate with alcohol. And when that moment hits, when you're stressed, when someone pours a glass of wine next to you, when your old cues kick in, when the pressure builds, come back to this episode and listen to it again. Come back to your word, how you want to feel. Come back to the version of you that we just met in that meditation. This is your integrity practice. I want you to always come back to your boundaries and the tiny promise that you're making to yourself. Let this episode be that anchor for you throughout the year. You're not just doing dry January and you're not doing it alone. You're doing it with tools, with identity, with awareness and clarity. And hello with me in your ear. That's going to be helpful. And remember this, if you fall off track, you didn't blow your dry January. You got some information. If you have a slip, your only job is to choose again. Your job is to look at that moment and say, okay, that was my old pattern coming in. Today, I'm dusting myself off and I'm getting back up onto the playing field. So now that we've set some of these scientific and emotional foundations to this, you're ready for the next piece of this episode, your future self contract. This is going to be your 2026 anchor. This was one of my favorite parts of the retreat that I held. We closed with writing a letter to ourselves, and then I collected all of the letters. So all of the women wrote a letter to themselves and they sealed it in an address, in an envelope with their address on it. And a few weeks later, I mailed it to them. So let's create your version of that now. And you can do that after the episode, but I encourage you to do it today. This is a great exercise to do today. You're going to write a letter to your 2026 self, beginning with this. And this will also be in the show notes. Here's what I now know about who I am becoming. I want you to tell her the woman you choose to be in 2026. I want you to tell her the rituals you're committing to. I want you to tell her the boundaries you're ready to honor, the word you've selected today for how you want to feel, the version of you who no longer negotiates with herself, the life you're building one choice at a time. Seal it. And I want you to schedule a date to open it. This is not a pressure document. This is a little contract for yourself, a permission document, a declaration of who you're becoming. Okay, I want to leave you with this. Nothing you learned this year was wasted. Nothing you struggled with was pointless. Nothing about your journey disqualifies you from the future that you're stepping into. Okay? You are sitting on the edge of change, and it's okay if it feels uncomfortable. I want you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And you're not scared because you can't do this. You're scared because you're finally about to. This next year isn't about perfection. It's about integrity. It's about identity, being awake to your life and becoming the woman who simply doesn't need alcohol to feel regulated, confident, or aligned. You're building her right now, and I'm walking with you every single step of the way. I hope that something inside this episode really lit you up. And if you're ready to step into 2026 feeling supported and steady and no longer doing this alone, you know that there's a place for you inside Feel Good AF. You don't have to keep navigating the loops by yourself. You don't have to white knuckle. You don't have to rely on rules or pressure. There is a proven, compassionate path forward, one that's rooted in identity, capacity, and integrity. And if you're ready for that, I'm here for you because I know that we can make 2026 the year you stop thinking about drinking for good. Thank you for listening to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast. If this episode landed for you, it would mean a lot if you left a review or take a quick screenshot of it and share it on social media. That's how this show reaches more women who are ready to stop living in the drinking loop and start leading themselves with confidence again. I'm on a mission to change the way high-achieving women think about alcohol because you don't need more willpower or more rules around your drinking. You need real support, real tools, and the truth about what's actually possible for you. So keep showing up for yourself, keep telling the truth about what you want. And remember, the life you want isn't found in a glass or a bottle of wine. It's built in the decisions that you can stand behind, the ones that you feel really good about. My DMs are always open, and I can't wait to get to know you better. I will see you next week in the next episode.